This is Editing Faye coming at you now that I realized that I didn't film an intro for this video. So, I need to make an early 16th century Trossfrau outfit. This is because my friend who I sewed the Waffenrock for in my previous video in the 16th century is now competing in his Kingdom's Crown tournament after all the coronavirus stuff is over. At least we hope it will happen in that time. So, I've got a deadline for the middle of May for an entire early 16th century Trossfrau outfit, because of course I'm going to a different kingdom, really like to sew, gotta impress them. First things first, you want to cut out your pattern pieces with scissors, of course. Make sure that they're fabric scissors, and hold your camera precariously in one hand because you're too freaking lazy to go and grab your tripod and set that up. What you want to do here that I neglected to get on camera because apparently instead of filming my sewing machine, I had the camera pointing at my cat and my computer, but is sew together the center back as well as the side seams. After that's all done, you want to fell open the sides, or the seam allowances, making sure that you only catch the inner lining layer. And this lining layer is a heavy canvas, so that way I get more structure than just having the lightweight wool and linen. I'm just doing this so that I can keep as much stitching invisible as possible, because even though this is a petticoat, you want to have it looking pretty. I mean, come on. It just looks nice. This I did with every internal seam as well as the arm size and the neck before I did my fitting. Once the construction is done, I adjust the fit of the petticoat using the front seam, just to make sure that I'm getting the proper support, because this is a modified Tudor tailor pattern, and the line of English clothing versus early 16th century German clothing, especially in the bodice, is very different. There's a more natural curve to the bust compared to the earlier English design, as well as Italian designs. So I had to modify this pattern, no matter what. I put this on now that it's had time to be worn and fully stretched out, and I think this is the fit that I need, which means another 5/8 of an inch off of the top, and kind of glide that down into nothing being taken off at the waist. I just looked at more manuscripts, or woodcuts in this case, and saw that the bust line wasn't as curved in the earlier 1510s, which is what I'm aiming for. So instead, have it so it's still curved, but it's giving much more lift to the boobs, because that will be covered up by the gollar as well as a bruised fleck here. That will keep nip slips from happening because my hemd is extremely sheer. But it works because the specific breed of Trossfrau I'm going for is the camp prostitute. Alright, I've got to get all of this fixed to take off my hooks and eyes and redo this. With all necessary modifications made to the mock-up, I took the first step in making the actual garment by cleaning up my sewing area, and then I laid out the cut-offs of fabric from the skirt, because why would I buy an extra yard of fabric if I already had some spare lying around? And of course, when you're working with scrap fabric, you end up finding in places that you don't have enough fabric to, for example, this back piece was too long for any other pieces of the cut-offs of the fabric that I had, which ultimately meant that I had to fold it over, just mark where I folded it, and piece it together. Don't forget that seam allowance either when you're cutting this out, because that would be a horrible mistake to make. I hope I'm in frame for this because I currently can't see. I really should get a viewfinder. Well, I'm working on the fancy petticoat, which has a couple of alterations from my technically a mock-up that I'm treating as like an actual garment. First thing, neckline is lower. Second thing, straps are more angled instead of going up, they're going over the shoulder. And of course, the skirt is going to be a little more voluminous because why not? So hopefully everything goes okay. And I probably should have tested these bodice modifications before cutting out the nice fabric, but the nice fabric is cut-offs from the petticoat skirt, so, or the mock-up skirt, so I didn't lose any money, really. I'm losing the light, so I'm switching over to hemming that petticoat, and I'll see you in a bit. You'll notice that on my heavy canvas interlining, I'm not actually just using the pattern piece as is. I'm actually measuring out and removing the seam allowance because due to it being such a stiff and heavy material, it would create too much bulk in my seam. And now you can just cut it away. Now remember that you can always take a break and maybe wear your mock-up or play with your cat or both. Pounce was not in the mood for playing nicely and just tried to claw at my hands, but you know, she's still my baby. One of the things I'm doing on this version that I didn't do on the previous mock-up is pad stitching the bust area. I've already marked where I'm supposed to put these stitches, and because I'm doing the lining and interlining only so that I don't get anything on my fashion fabric which shows every pin prick. So I'm molding this out towards the camera and just trying to add a little bit of extra support for the bust. Alright, it's 8 o'clock. I've thoroughly lost all light, so I'm just giving you an update. I have basted this together. You can see better from the outside. And now I've just pinned these layers together. Outer layer, interlining, and lining. What I'm going to do now is just sew up the side seam as well as the shoulder. After tossing in some hook and eye closures in the front, you have a petticoat. The final version of this that I made was one of the scandalously low-cut ones that you see specifically on Trossfrau prostitutes, like I am meant to portray, but for modern sensibilities, it's most likely that you should wear this with a breast fleck or breast flap, just so that you don't upset any people in modern society.